Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. And today, I first want to share with you the winner of the giveaway we started on Saturday based on, guessing what budget knife I had on the way. If you still don't know, it's sitting here on the table, and this is the Byrd Raven 2. Okay, so I ordered one of these last week. It came fairly quickly from Amazon.com, and I did ask you guys to guess, and the person who guessed right was Ron Broders. So I will go and comment, Ron, on your comment back on that video with my email address. So shoot me an email and we'll get that figured out. Or if you're watching this video, comment down below and we can get in touch that way. Or you can use the Sharp Stuff Facebook page to message me that way. All right. So I'll be trying to get a hold of you. The knife that I was giving away for whoever guessed it right was the CRKT Snap-Lock. And I thought this knife makes a good knife for a giveaway because it's kind of a novelty knife. It's not something that most people would buy for themselves, but it's something a lot of people are mildly interested in. So I thought it worked out really well. So that's going to be in the mail, in the next couple of days as soon as I can get a hold of Ron. Now, what I want to talk about, a couple things. First off, I want to ask you guys, have you ever been in a situation like this where this knife has been around for such a long time and I just kind of ignored it? And then finally, when I got my hands on one, honestly, guys, I cannot believe how good it is. I really am impressed. The action, the fit and finish, the quality, the durability. This is a very heavy duty, really well-built knife, and that's really, really impressive to me. So is there a knife that fits that category for you where you kind of just ignored it and then, everyone else was talking about it and you knew it was probably good, and then when you finally got one, you were just couldn't believe that you'd waited as long as you had, So I want to ask that question for discussion down in the comments below. And then I want to go on to a bigger discussion that this knife and a number of others really illustrate for us. So I'll throw in a couple of other knives in here and I'll switch out some others along the way. But I've got some knives here all on the screen that are not overly expensive, but are really stinking good. And I have to say that we are in such a, we are so fortunate as knife enthusiasts right now that there are so many companies that they're competing so heavily with one another. And because of that, they're putting out some really good stuff. And some have even started to respond to customer demands. I think this is a perfect example. The blade steel being switched to BD1 on this knife, many customers are starting to be more savvy, especially about knife steel. And because of that, the HCR 13 knives of the world, I just don't think are going to fare as well, especially moving forward. All right, so this was a great upgrade. And with that steel and just with this overall knife design, you can get a phenomenal knife that is going to serve anybody. And I mean anybody really, really well. If you need a utility folder, this is an excellent example. And, you can pick one up for like 40 some dollars US. In Canada, you can find them still for like 50 bucks. And it is an exceptionally good knife. It really, really is. And it's not the only one. These are all around that $50 price point, and they are excellent. It's hard to emphasize just how good they are. So if you're like a collector or an enthusiast, or if you're just a guy watching knife videos to find that one good knife, which by the way is how I got started doing this. I started doing research and I was watching videos and I created a list of like the top 5 knives that I was really interested in. Back then it was the Para 2, the Manix, the Recon 1, the Rat 1, and the Tenacious. And so I had that list, and those were knives that I was really, really curious about. Ultimately, of course, I ended up owning all of them, but I was really juggling all those knives, trying to figure out which one I wanted. Anyway, if you're that kind of guy, if you're in that situation now, you have so many fantastic options that it's really, really cool. So let's think about what you can get, okay? You can get high-end features. All right, this knife and this knife both have very nice bearing systems. This one has roller bearings, which is awesome. This one has ceramic bearings, which, both of these are extremely smooth, and they're things you normally wouldn't see on knives that are $50. You'd normally be paying $200, $300, $400 to get a pivot setup as good as these. You can get cool designs, okay? You can get, the Kizer Vanguard series has all kinds of custom knife designs that are really cool and really interesting and allow you a lot of variation in your collection. And they're not the only ones. There are lots of knife makers doing work for various companies that are really coming out with some nice stuff, whether it be, you know, Real Steel with their Ostap Hale stuff. Reich Knives with their in-house designs are doing a great job. Bestech Knives have got some really cool and really different designs. Tuya Knives. You know, Spyderco doesn't tend to do as many budget knives that are different. But certainly, you know, if you picked up one of these, if you picked up a Cara in G10, you would have some really nice options. We'll save that for the review. I was going to say more, but I'll keep my mouth shut about other comparisons to Spyderco's that I want to make. There's the Kizer Tangram series. I've still got this one on loan. It's going back to its owner very, very quickly here. But there are a number of Kizer Tangrams that I really, really want to pick up. As soon as I can figure out a way to do that. By the way, if you're watching this and you're in the States and you might want to help me out with that, that would be great. Or if you're a Canadian and you have a US postal box or something like that, that would be cool too. Anyway, so there are lots and lots of options for designs and finding different and unique knives that can fill a lot of different niches, a lot of different roles. You can get good performance, okay? All of these have pretty good steel. And you can even, you know, the D2 even the Rat Model 1 in D2, so you don't have to, you don't have to say, well, I can only afford to spend $40, so I guess I'm going to have to get, the Chinese Alphabet steel. You don't have to. You can get D2, you can get 14C28N, you can get BD1. This is probably, in terms of blade steel per price, this is probably the best on this table because I think this is the cheapest here, and it's in BD1, which is going to perform pretty nicely. Certainly far better than, HCR 13 MOV, which you're normally going to be, buying on a $40 knife, or even AUS 8. So you can get decent steel, you can get nice materials, contoured G10, Zero Tolerance made a big deal out of the fact that they were going to 3D machine their knives when they came out with like the 0300 and the 0560. And now you can buy, contoured machined G10 for such an affordable price. You can get great performance. All of these, they're ergonomic, they're well made, they have great actions, they have decent steel. And so, there's really nothing outside of, once you move past that $50 price point, you're getting a little more refinement. Yes, S30V, S35VN, LMAX, M390, those steels are going to perform better than these steels. Okay, no question. But in terms of, an adequate cutting tool for the average person, all of these are totally awesome. All right. Now, I will say along these lines, there are two frustrations. And then one is, notice that the U.S. manufacturers are not well represented. We've got the Ontario, we've got the Spyderco, overseas line. All of these are built overseas. So to me, that's how I compare them, right? This and this are both made overseas. So I really don't care which company is doing it. And I know, some of you will have differing opinions on that, but as far as I'm concerned, they're both taking advantage of cheap Chinese manufacturing. Okay, so you can't say I'm not going to buy a Bestech, I'm going to buy a Bird. Sorry, both companies are guilty of the same stuff. So moving back into our main discussion, the one frustration about this is that some of the U.S. companies are really missing the boat. All right, the companies like Kershaw and Gerber and CRKT. And even Benchmade to some extent, although they seem to be doing better, they are capitalizing. Okay, and I get it. Companies exist to make money, and those companies can cut corners and still make money because they're selling in big box stores. Okay, so they're getting a lot of sales volume and not having to do what Bestech or Reich is doing, where they're putting out really, really good quality stuff, right? In order for these guys to compete, you're not going to buy this at Walmart, so they've got to go above and beyond, and they are. All right. And so as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to stop reviewing them. There are still some interesting designs coming from Kershaw and CRKT and even Gerber, although I've only reviewed one and I was really disappointed. But the U.S. companies, Buck would be another one. They really should step up their game. When you can see in these knives what is possible for that $50 price point, there's really no excuse for, pumping out crap and calling it a knife when for the same price people could do so much better. And so that is really, really frustrating They need to up their game in terms of quality, in terms of steel. Designs, hey, I think CRKT and even Kershaw do a pretty decent job with designs and working with well-known designers. It's just that I've been disappointed too many times with, you know, poor lockup and blade play and stuff like that. SOG, we can add them to the list too. So that's my frustration that this brings around when I can have these knives that are fantastic. Okay, and if someone comes and says, hey, Kevin, I'm looking for a new good quality EDC, I'm going to recommend something like this. Sorry, guys, but I'm not going to be recommending a Kershaw. I'm not going to be recommending a Gerber. I'm not going to be recommending a CRKT, even though they all have rare exceptions and come out with something decent from time to time, or have had good stuff in the past. You know, the Kershaw Blur is a great knife. The Kershaw Knockout is a great knife, but you're going to pay for that too, right? So back to, you know, my main discussion here. As consumers, we are in a great situation, and what we need to do is push that advantage. We need to hold companies extremely accountable and force them to put out the stuff we want. When they put out crap, let's just not buy it, okay? And if you do buy it and it's not good, you know, as a reviewer, I'm going to throw them under the bus. And as a consumer, you need to do the same thing and say, hey, this is a piece of junk and you need to do better, because there's plenty of companies that are doing better. So there you go, guys. That's my little rant, but also my my praise. Congratulations to Ron, who won that CRKT snap lock. You know, again, really cool design, but the steel is less than desirable, although I think this is a novelty for most people. And, you know, since Ron is getting it for free and I didn't pay all that much for it to begin with, that's not a big deal. But I do feel like there's a lot of companies that could do better. And I also feel like there's a lot of companies that are doing great and delivering us some really awesome stuff. By the way, I will have a full review coming up of this guy in a couple of weeks. By way of first impression, let me just say, I cannot believe I waited so long to pick up this knife. I have been carrying it and using it quite a bit and really liking it. I don't know if I already said this, but I did have to tune the action a little bit, but I'm really pleased with this knife. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And you know what? Follow me on Instagram and hit that notification button as well. YouTube has changed the way they do things so that your number of subscribers has very little correlation to the number of views you get. And that's a cost-saving measure for them. And you know, it's an annoyance to creators and to viewers alike. So go ahead and hit the notification button so that you see stuff when I'm putting it out. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll talk to you soon.